Hello, everyone. This is Annie O'Shaughnessy here with Caring Without Crashing, a very important topic to me because I care a lot and I get close to crashing a lot. So it's personally very interested in this topic. The topic brought me to doctors Amelia and Emily Nagoski. They're sisters, and they wrote a book called Burnout. Wellness is not a state of being, it's a state of action. It is the freedom to oscillate through the cycles of being human. Real world wellness is messy, complicated, and not always accessible. If you sometimes feel overwhelmed and exhausted, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means you're moving through the process. Grant your body permission to be imperfect and listen to your own experience. So they have a great TED Talk and they are hilarious. So as you are learning about this, you get to relieve some stress through laughter. Begin with a definition of compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue has been described as the cost of caring. The work of helping requires educators to open their hearts and minds to their students and colleagues. Unfortunately, this very process of empathy is what makes helpers vulnerable to being profoundly affected and even possibly damaged by their work. So compassion fatigue is not fatigue that comes from compassion. It's a fatigue that prevents compassion from arising. So you become disconnected. Here are some of the symptoms: intrusive thoughts or images, headaches, GI symptoms, gastrointestinal symptoms, insomnia, nightmares, sleep disruptions, decreased immune response, lethargy, becoming more accident prone. And I would add the affect, it's like a flat affect and a disconnection from kind of motivation to help. And what's important to this little piece I'm offering you today is the difference between empathy and compassion, and how empathy can contribute to burnout if not thought of as a tool to use, not a state of being to aspire to. So compassion is not the same as empathy, though the concepts are related. While empathy refers to our ability to take the perspective of and feel the emotions of another person, compassion happens when empathy triggers right action, decisions and actions that support others. But empathy can also be an obstacle to compassion and to equity, as I will talk about later. First, let's kind of look at the negative spiral of burnout related to empathy. So we experience challenges with students, or a student is dysregulated, or a colleague is dysregulated. A lot of us are in this profession because we are good at empathy. We feel what they're feeling. Too much feeling of what somebody else is feeling is empathic stress and can lead to emotional exhaustion, which leads to compassion fatigue. This leads to a connection and kind of depersonalization of you in the workspace with people. So you become disconnected, just kind of you're basically in autopilot mode. That autopilot actually causes more dysregulation among students because you're not there to co-regulate them. Kind of, you might be there physically, but you're just kind of not there because you're experiencing this compassion fatigue. This impacts your personal life as well. And with that comes a real lack of sense of efficacy, as you see that you're not as effective with students because you're feeling this fatigue. And that leads to burnout. Good news. You're going to have the spiral go back up. You get the student challenges, and we ground with the 2 feet, 1 breath. And we attune to what is happening. So that's feeling the feelings in the moment. This is empathy. Empathy is a tool where we're gaining information and also providing some comfort. But what we do then is to differentiate. We bring ourselves back to our own bodies, back to our own experience, kind of literally decide to just disconnect from the other person's feelings. And we move to compassion, which is right action, which is what is the best thing to do. And then after we ground, 2 feet, 1 breath, we self-soothe. There's many ways to do that. I'll show you, and discharge the stress. Because no matter how much we differentiate from those feelings, they're still going to be lingering on us. So the result is an objectivity about the decision making. So while we're in empathy and attuned to somebody else's feelings and they're dysregulated, guess what? We aren't thinking as clearly as we should. And we're neither are we objective, because we are subjective. We're in their experience. So we need, in order to be equitable and objective and effective, we need to differentiate, and that's really well done with 2 feet, one breath. I am me. I am going to think of the best thing to do here, a deep breath, and action. This increases a sense of efficacy because it works, and you have more energy and motivation because you've discharged that stress. So the key here is how we respond to the signal of empathy and work with it influences whether we develop compassion fatigue. So it's kind of a downer to say it, but empathy is a tool. And I always say con artists are empathic. They feel what we feel, and that allows them that ability to kind of manipulate us. So in this way, we're really, really careful about empathy as a tool, but not as a state of being. So the first step is to ground and become present. Step one. We do this. So what is it? Grounding is literally connecting to the stability of the ground we stand on in order to emotionally regulate. Becoming present is letting go of everything but the present moment with 2 feet, one breath. Why do we need it? Grounding and presence are essential to positively co-regulating with a person, as well as preparing us to effectively attune. So we can't be distracted and be thinking about other things if we really want to be present and empathize with someone. So this is the 2 feet, one breath. Stop what you're doing. Bring awareness to your 2 feet on the ground. Take one breath. Inhale, checking kindly with yourself, and then letting go of what you think you know. So just kind of like a clean slate, trying to bring your full self, your full attention without any kind of distracting thoughts. The second step is to attune and invite empathy. So what is it? When we attune with others, we invite empathy, the experience of our internal state, shifting outward to vicariously experience the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of others. Why do we need it? Empathy is a way of providing comfort and safety, as well as get information about the other's experiences and needs. But it is not an end goal. It is a tool to activate compassion. Remember, compassion is active. So this is an exercise that you could try with a partner just to get the feeling of it, but you get grounded. The other person shares a strong emotion. I would suggest something they heard in the news, or getting cut off in traffic. Use the techniques to try and attune, feel those feelings, and then try to differentiate. Ask one question that comes to mind from that place of grounded, kind of differentiated state, all right, that objective state that we're shooting for. I'm going to switch. All right, the differentiation, that's a really important piece. So this photo shows a teacher who is deeply attuned to the student, come down physically to their level and attuned. What is it? Differentiation is the ability to separate your internal experience from that of someone else's. This is best accomplished by intentionally shifting focus from the empathy you feel to the physical and sensory aspects of your experience. Why do we need it? Remaining in an empathic state not only distresses, exhausts us emotionally, it reduces the objectivity needed to make the best possible, most equitable decisions for that person. So here's that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a great thing to do if you're in a situation where you really need to step back. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, 1 place you love to be. Activate compassion. To differentiate is purposeful. It is used to intentionally ground and shift focus back to your own center, thereby disengaging from empathic feelings. Then you tap into your desire to be of benefit. We then are able to activate compassion. Compassion is what converts feeling bad, say, with the other person to focusing on which action, skills, or knowledge could best serve them. Right action requires a level of objectivity that empathy does not allow. In this way, staying in empathy decreases our ability to make equitable decisions. So step 5, after the interaction of the attunement and differentiating and making the decision, is to self-soothe. These are the microdosing, the little doses of regulatory, rhythmic things that help your nervous system get back. So I have rocks at my desk. I have aroma. I have lavender oil. I have water. Um, Sometimes I've used a heavy like blanket in my lap. There's lots of ways, and here are some of those ways to self-soothe. This is really important to start to discharge some of that stress. And then there's literally discharging. This is what the Nagoski sisters talk about. This is about completing the stress cycle, which means your empathic stress, no matter how good you are at those other steps, 5 steps, you're going to still have some. You're discharging, which includes activities that lead to release of energy and feel good hormones, like through dance, strenuous activity, singing, laughing. The most powerful activities are going to be rhythmic activities. This comes from Dr. Bruce Perry, and understanding that relationship and rhythm are the top 2 regulatory activities for our nervous systems. Why do we need them? Bouncing back from the experiences of empathic resonance requires action steps. If we don't soothe and discharge the energy of the day during the day, it kind of backs up and will keep us up at night, or discharge when we least expect it or want it, in like a blow up. Or we will depend on things like alcohol, maybe over exercise, to like compensate for that backup. So you want to do this throughout the day. And here's more on discharging: physical activities, crying, listen to a sad song, just get in your car and cry. Laughing is huge. Physical affection, highly recommend the 20-second hug. Make sure to to warn the person you're hugging that you just like to relax in each other's arms for 20 seconds, but it is really profound. It really helps. And then deep breathing. Right? So you'll have these slides to look at. So just to end, the quality of strength lined with tenderness is an unbeatable combination. So in the end, yes, students are comforted when we show empathy, and colleagues are comforted. But what they also really need is us to be strong and to act compassionately to relieve whatever is happening with them. So thanks so much for listening, and I hope that you gain some benefit from this slideshow.